maybe it's too loud, right? Give me a couple of seconds. Is it good? If it's low or loud throughout the game, please let me know, okay? I didn't prepare this game for the stream, so, you know, things can happen. All right, options. First things first. Motion blur, no, screw that crap. Audio, okay. Autoplay. Text settings. Font. This is better, right? I think this type of writing is good for everyone. Because some people struggle with it. Okay. What? I don't know what happened, but hooray! Hooray! Seems dark.
Dagon is a short story by American author H.P. Lovecraft. It was written in July 1917 and is one of the first stories that Lovecraft wrote as an adult. It was first published in the November 1919. It is considered by many to be one of Lovecraft's most forward-looking stories.
Really? Oh, wow. Lovely. Thank you for telling. Wow. Okay. Okay, nice. How do I change the gamma? Full gamma. Save and exit. Trivia? Okay, start. Here we go. It's a faithful interactive adaptation of the Lovecraft's work focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here. And movement is limited, progressing through locations along with the plot. Thanks, Rooks. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find the secrets, focus your eyes and look for the elder sign. Ooh. As to letters, my case is peculiar. I write such things exactly as easily as rapidly as I would utter the same topics in conversation. Indeed, epistolary expression is with me largely replacing conversation, as my condition of nervous prostration becomes more and more acute. Oh?
They say he struggled. They say he fell. I say he found himself black in a pig cell. Never know what life's gonna throw at you. Based on a true story. Kill it. Beep it. Rob it. Take it. Build it. Break it. Move it. Shake it. Bigger. Better. Brighter. Faster. Tickets for the ever after. Burn it, bomb it. Carpet bomb it. Wake up. Want always on it. Start it. Stop it. Hug 'em. Drop it. Pass the popcorn. Shut the freck up. Bronca. 6 popcorn. Rack attack.
Where is that from? It's a mixture of harder, better, faster, stronger. Thanks, Kurt. I cannot bear to talk much now, and I'm becoming as silent as spectator himself. My loquacity extends itself on paper. H.P. Lovecraft, Reinhard Kleiner, December 23rd. Throughout his life, Lovecraft penned around 100,000 letters to his friends and fans, out of which about 10% survive to this day. but his tendency to endless correspondence was a relatively late growth. In youth, I scarcely did any letter writing. Thanking anybody for a present was so much of an ordeal that I would rather have written a 250-line pastoral or a 20-page treatise on the rings of Saturn. Wow. Lovecraft would often skip meals to afford postage. Collections of his correspondence have been published in various books, and selected letters can be found online. Some readers consider them his most important legacy. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm sorry your dog puked. Oh, I hope he's okay. You can read the discovered trivia or go back to them. Okay. This.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Oh, wow. Trying to see if there are hidden clues here. Indeed, I think it fits amazingly onto this. Morphine entered into the use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during American Civil War and the First World War. It was also sold without restrictions until 1914. It's morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Friedrich Suturner, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after the Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. I personally like it, but I mean, for some people it might be too much. I don't know. What is this?
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Sea raider. Oh. Dagon was written around a month after the United States entered the First World War. Lovecraft was actively interested in its course. He composed many poems in which he gave encouragement to soldiers and commented on the events unfolding in Europe. He tried to enlist in the army, which he mentions in one of the letters to Reinhard Kleiner. Some time ago, impressed by my entire uselessness in the world, I resolved to attempt enlistment despite my almost invalid condition. I argued that if I choose a regiment soon to depart for France, my sheer nervous force, which is not inconsiderable, might sustain me till a bullet or piece of shrapnel could more conclusively and effectively dispose of me. So he was an anxious potato like me. Okay, good. Let's go. Let's go. I'm glad. But even though he passed the physical exam, his mother prevented him from going to the war. She has threatened to go to any lengths, legal or otherwise, if I do not reveal all the ills which unfit me for the army. So he's like, Mom, I want to go to war. And Mom was like, no, Lovecraft, you go back to your room and keep writing those poems and stories. Alright, let's, I don't think I see anything else. Yeah, Mom was right.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not
She said
completely
it.
sunk
She
to
said
their
it.
later degradation. So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the
Indeed,
fairness
mommy
and
issues.
consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Okay, what do we got here? Let's see. Ooh. The Huns. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick raids who also developed composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. Wow. Let's go. Is a what? I don't even know what that is, Kurt. What is that? During the First World War, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on 27 July 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as thousands of years ago, the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the First Hague Convention of 1899. Wow, I didn't know this. Did you guys know this? Wow. Yeah, Attila is. Yeah, I knew about Attila, but I didn't know about the Wilhelm II, you know, this speech, you know? You're angry? Why are you angry? And J-Rock, thank you so much for the lure. Thank you. Okay, is there anything else hidden in the shadow? No.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
I don't see much. This is for skipping. So there's gotta be another symbol or something around here. I'm gonna click everything. Alright, Kurt. I do hope you feel better. And it's Friday and all. Is it me or there's nothing? This one is bone dry. Oh well.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Amico mio. I'm doing okay. How you doing today, Eladu? We're having some Lovecraftian / history lesson today. Oh, it's the sun. So if I look at the stars, will they show me things? Oh, please show me. Do you guys see anything? I think we're probably skipping something. I don't think so.
The weather kept fair, and for
You're
uncounted
better
days
now?
I drifted aimlessly
happened?
beneath
Were you
the
sick?
scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship
What
or to
happened,
be
buddy?
cast on the shores of some habitable land.
This game seems really nice. Oh, there it is. The return to short stories. The Vagrant, an amateur magazine focused on the supernatural. The story is the first of his stories that introduced an element from the Cthulhu mythos, Dagon itself. A pagan cult-worshipping Dagon later appears in the shadow over Innsmouth, one of Lovecraft's most popular works. 1917 is also the year when he wrote The Tomb, a story about Gervas Dudley, a daydreamer who discovers a mysterious mausoleum in the woods by his house and becomes obsessed with it. These two works marked Lovecraft's return to short story writing after he burned most of his attempts at the genre 9 years prior and decided to concentrate on poetry. Lovecraft stated that it was his friend William Paul Cook, a literary publisher and critic, who convinced him to start writing weird fiction again. A big applause to William, who convinced this gentleman to keep up the, to keep it up. Ah, really? Interesting. Interesting, dog. No. I don't think there is anything. Okay, let's use this.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know. For my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Oh my. Yep. That's okay. That's okay. Into the Careful, Kurtz.
Talking to myself all the way to the station, pictures in my head of the final destination, all lined up, all the ones that aren't allowed to stay. Tried to save myself, but myself keeps slipping away. Ah! 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 Oh! Whoa! Oh! 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 Whoa! Oh! Oh! Tried to save a place from the cuts and the scratches. Tried to overcome the complications.
Oh my
and the
God.
catches. Nothing ever grows, and the sun doesn't shine all day. Tried to save myself, but myself keeps slipping away. Slipping away. Rack attack.
Thank you. That was beautiful and you know. Got the potatoes. I can bring the potatoes. I don't like octopus that much, but is that from 9 Inch Nails, Kurt? Trying to see if I can find, the symbols. The extra symbols the game keeps telling me about, but let me see them. Click everything. I'll just click.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished. For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Oh my. This is something, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know how I would react if I woke up and look at this. The origins of Dagon. Dagon seems to be inspired by Fishhead, a short novel by Irvin C. Cobb about unnatural affinities between a hybrid idiot and the strange fish of an isolated lake. And Lovecraft's dream about a strange island emerging from the ocean and him crawling in the ooze that covered its surface. I dreamed that... Hold on. I need to change voice. I dreamed that the whole... Okay, that was not his voice. Well, whatever. I dreamed the whole hideous crawl and can yet feel the ooze sucking me down. In defense of Dagon. Lovecraft's interest in the topic stemmed from his aversion to fish and sea smells. In his own words, I've hated fish and feared the sea and everything connected with it since I was 2 years old. But I cannot recall what earlier experience gave me such a profound and lasting aversion to the sea and seafood. Oh my god. I also don't like seafood. Lovecraft, can we be besties? Oh my god. No! Card!
Hey, come on!
Don't quit the other streams. I don't approve that. I think you and others should be, you know, in several streams. But of course, if you want to focus on this one, by all means, right? All right. Back. So he didn't like seafood. No seafood. Ew. I'll just touch that.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might, nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Okay, no, I don't want to touch that fish. Let's see if there's other things that I can touch. The mystery of volcanic islands. Volcanic eruptions sometimes result in the creation of islands. Most of them are transient and erode after some time, but some prove permanent. The floating pumice, porous rock created when superheated pressurized rock is ejected from a volcano, can move across long distances and transport barnacles and macroalgae that cling into it. In 2001, rafts of pumice created during the eruption of the volcano near Tonga in Polynesia eventually reached Australia. Really? Do you have a new phone? GG, Kurt? Okay, I don't think there's anything else.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
That brother.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness, and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time. That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Possible rescue. I don't think that's gonna work. Something. Ah, there's nothing.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Okay, what is this fish? Right? Nothing on it.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Ew. Disgusting looking thingy. And again, there's no hints. As we move. A whale. Hey, poor baby. Touch. Nothing on the sky. Oh, she's looking at me. Look. Oh. Let's move on.
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
MMA fights? Did you fight? Or did you bet on MMA fights? The horrors of the ocean. The creator of Cthulhu mythos and the fictional underwater city of never know how to pronounce this. R'lyeh? Hold on. Google Translator, help me.
R'lyeh.
R'lyeh? The city of R'lyeh? You would bet on the wrong horse, Kurt. Do you think I could win? Nah. I don't hurt a fly. I couldn't. City of R'lyeh was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure would make it uninhabitable. Today we know that the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we've discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters below the ocean surface, in never-ending darkness and at hellishly crushing pressures, hundreds of times stronger than those found at the sea level. Upon gazing at modern photos of the deep-sea creatures, such as anglerfish, the fangtooth, or the viperfish, and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. My trainer, would you train me in bow and arrow? I was talking to Vitor about that, and I would love to be a marksman, or should I say markswoman? The Mariana snailfish. You want to see what this fish looks like? You guys are not prepared. You are not prepared. Trust me. Look. They live at the bottom of the sea, 8,000 meters under the sea. How weird. Right? Angler fish. This is some stuff of nightmares. Like, no. No, please. What is the other one that they are talking about? The fang tooth. The fang. Look at that. Like this one. Why do they have to look this evilish, right? Why don't they look cutesy and cuddly? Right? On the surface, they bloat. Wait, there's another one. The viper fish. Viper fish. Jesus. No thanks. No. No, but they are absolutely terrific. And I understand why Lovecraft was deadly afraid of these things. Yeah. I would back away as well. Ugh. Yeah, indeed. They know how to survive to those extreme conditions,
By the fourth
right?
evening, I attained the base of the mound.
Indeed,
which turned out to be
Blobby.
much
Indeed.
higher
Why
than
am I
it
being so
appeared from a
mean to
distance.
fishes? Oh, God.
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in
Okay.
the glow of the moon, I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Okie dokie. The Loner. Contrary to popular opinion, Lovecraft was not an ever-frowning, eccentric, grumpy loner. He considered himself to be a person who appreciated humor. Moreover, he would often meet with his friends in his apartment or at various cafes in Brooklyn and Manhattan. At times, his social life was so intensive, his work would suffer for months. There was a point when he finally decided he needed to put an end to daily meetings and loitering in New York cafeterias and resorted to hiding at home and reading with the main room light turned off, pretending he wasn't there whenever a friend knocked on his door. He also had another method of deterring his guests, which involved greeting them in a bathrobe, with an unmade bed visible in the background and piles of papers scattered across the floor. Okay, that's nice. A social beast, huh? The Storytale Century by Frederick Brown offers so interesting ideas about points of view. Eladu, can you share on the Discord the name and the author? I appreciate that. Of Kane book? What Kane book?
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me, but I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon. whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine.
Oh dear.
I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness.
Nice.
As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Okay. All right.
Ledges and outcroppings
Indeed.
of rock afforded
Sounds like
fairly
something you would
easy
say,
footholds
Kurt.
for a descent. Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Okay. Gradual. Nothing. Okay.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Okay. Anything I can touch? No. No. Okay. Thank you.
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
No, there's nothing. Oh.
I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
Okie dokie. Let's go. What could go wrong, right?
The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
What does it say? Funny thing is that there's no curios here. The story.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me,
Cthulhu!
and unlike
Look!
anything I'd ever seen in books.
Da-na-na-na!
Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
What carving? There it is. Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themed and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings. You can find at these books. Journals and characters' notes. Islands emerging from the ocean. Or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies. It is also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also conclude in a matter similar to Dagon. But let's skip the details to not spoil the Yay, thank you for not spoiling! Oh, thank you, Valadu. Thank you. It's a right. Thank you. Fun fact, if you add R to this game, you get... Oh, Guybrush. How you doing, buddy? Welcome in. And Molly got summoned. We talk about Cthulhu, and there she is. Alright, let me put this baby cat outside, okay? Go say bye. Bye-bye. Go with your dad. No, no! She's going with Vitor. Vitor, you want to say hi? Richie is here. Your beloved Richie.
Hi Richie, everyone.
He just came from the gym. Now he's going to take a shower.
Plainly visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a doré.
What's a doré?
I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint, grotesque beyond
Why
the
are we
imagination
going
of
down?
a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background, for one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
Ooh, we're going to get a haircut. Let's go. Let's go, Richie. Enjoy.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
Saw what?
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters. Vast, polyphemus-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
What?
I think I went mad then.
Me too.
Of my frantic ascent of the sloping cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
So it brought us back. We're playing a Cthulhu-based
I
point and
believe I
click
sang a
game
great
called
deal
Dagon.
and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
Why does this sound like the shower? Yeah.
I have
Tentacles,
indistinct recollections
fishes,
of raising
weird
sometime after I reached
monsters.
the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods.
Let me see if I can. Oh! Oh. Well. Oof.
When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital,
What?
brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific,
So
my
we were
rescuers
just
knew nothing. Nor did I
dreaming,
deem it necessary to
hallucinating.
insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Oh, wow. The journalist. Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. In 1915, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticism to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again. For the first time since his teenage years, Dagon, published in 1919, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments and, at the proper time, take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country is, or ever can be, above warfare until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. Yeah, the instincts are still there, right? They still kick in. In defense of Dagon. In 1921, Lovecraft released a series of 3 essays, later published as a collection titled In Defense of Dagon, in which he rebuked a series of criticism directed at his works. Some notable quotes. Thank you. Wait, it is not? Is the game not being shown on the title? Okay. Sorry. I thought it was. I paint what I dream, and will let the public settle the rest amongst themselves. Mr. Monday asked the raison d'etre of Dagon, and I'll give it. Purely and simply to reproduce a mood. Its object is the simplest in all art, portrayal. The physical horrors of war, no matter how extreme and unprecedented, hardly have a bearing on the entirely different realm of supernatural terror. Ghosts are still ghosts. The mind can get more thrills from unrealities than from realities. In the essays, Lovecraft touches upon the topics of atheism, materialism, the quest for truth, and the love of science. Lovecraft considered himself as an atheist and an absolute materialist, which he attributed partially to his early childhood interest in astronomy and science in general. In his own words, I am indeed an absolute materialist so far as actual belief goes. With not a shred of credence in any form of supernaturalism, religion, spiritualism, transcendentalism, metempsychosis, or immortality. All I say is that I think it is damned unlikely that anything like a central cosmic will, a spirit world, or an eternal survival of personality exist. They are the most preposterous and unjustified of all the guesses which can be made about the universe. And I'm not enough of a hair splitter to pretend that I don't regard them as an errant and negligent error, whatever moonshine. In theory, I am an agnostic, but pending the appearance of radical evidence, I must be classed, practically and provisionally, as an atheist. You can't even say it? Me neither. Me neither. God darn it. Is there anything else that we can search around? Nippy, I'm not gonna read that. I failed.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon,
Thank you.
the fish god.
Ah, Dagon is the fish god? Was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. The rulers of Akkad chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in the Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In Lovecraft's work, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the ocean. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Oh, wow. Okie dokie. Good to know. We're skipping. An Irish accent, is it? So it can be the dog god. Fish god, dog god.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional,
Oh, so it all
I did
comes
not
together,
press my
Rooks.
inquiries.
Nice. I didn't know. The Marketeer. Lovecraft's attempts to find a job in 1925 were influenced by advice he received from friends. Among others, he started freelancing for a marketing magazine where he would write announcements and commercials. Feel free to judge his copywriting skills for yourself. This is an ad for Curtis Woodwork. I'm assuming it has to do with wood. Curtis Woodwork embraces both the usual structural units and the cleverest contrivances of built-in or permanent furniture, such as bookcases, dressers, blah, blah, blah. Every model is conceived and created with the purest art, ripest scholarship, and mellowest craftsmanship which energetic enterprise can command, and made to conform rigidly to the architecture of each particular type of home. The cost, considering the quality, is amazingly low, and the trademark of the individual pieces prevents any substitution by careless contractors. I assume that back then this was, top marketing advertising, but nowadays you have to put like 3 words or 5 because people won't read this. People don't spend the time to read whatever you write. They need to get, sucked in all of a sudden. No, but from the other one. Yeah. But it makes sense because it's an adaptation from, a story from the same author, but it uses another story's, August Derleth in the Cthulhu Mythos. Here's my... Probably I wouldn't do it too. Tardis, enjoy your coffee, sweetie. Enjoy it. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's work after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasts with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. I didn't know. I really didn't know about this. Oh, wow. And that's the Necronomicon, another famous book. I don't think there's anything else. I'm just double checking. Okay. The scientist. These days, the word scientist is a widely accepted term, but at the time when this novel was published, it was subject to a wide debate. After the author used it in the story, critics pointed out that man of science was a more appropriate term to employ. He admitted that if Dagon were to be reprinted, he would indeed use the phrase they suggested. Scientist was coined as an analog to artist to be used when referring to those studying different branches of science. Yet, in the 19th and early 20th century, the scientific researchers in Great Britain and the United States were of the opinion that man of science, resembling the term man of letters, was the only proper choice. Among other things, it was gender specific, indicating that science was an endeavor to be pursued by only one sex. The term scientist became more accepted only after World War II, and man of science started fading into obscurity as an old-fashioned synonym. Thank goodness. The Ex Mortis version? What do you mean? What do you mean, big boss? No, there's nothing.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see
we're back
the
at the
thing.
house.
I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Seriously? Lovecraft on tobacco and alcohol. Lovecraft hated tobacco. He even thought he used to smoke when he was 12 in order to look and feel like an adult. In his correspondence with his friend Reinhard Kleiner, he claims that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. Whatever that means. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced by his letter to Zelia Brown. As for the matter of drinking, I've never tasted intoxicating liquor, and I never intend to, having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blunts or coarsens the delicate natural equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I'm rather in favor of prohibition. The prohibition of any one antisocial force, as well of any other. Oh. Well, I don't agree with prohibition, but, you know. Apparently, Tartus, apparently. Good grief. Alright, let's see.
Often, I ask myself if it could
No,
not
he was a
all
party
have been
boy.
a pure phantasm.
People would invite him, and he had to put on his bathrobe and make his, his house all dirty so people wouldn't, invite him to go outside or get into his house.
A mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man of war. This, I ask myself, But ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind.
Oh my. Ah, that one! Oh, I didn't know it was Ex Mortis. Sorry, Big Boss. Like a doctor?
Of a day when the land shall sink.
Maybe they're friends.
And the dark ocean shall
Maybe that's the
ascend
type of people that
amidst
he,
universal
you know,
pandemonium.
he goes party with. Oh, look, the Statue of Liberty. And some crazy monsters, it seems.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Yeah, good luck. I'm getting out of here. Help! 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 Help!
It shall not find me.
Oh, it will find you.
God, that hand! The window! The window!
To the window! The window! Isn't there anything else I can touch before I go? Ta-da!